What's up, everybody? My name is Torrance Hill, and welcome to the Production Prism. Today, we're talking with Jaylen. She's going to tell us about her career path into this industry. We're going to touch on the importance of storytelling, gear, niching down, and a lot more. So tune in and enjoy. So now I just want to introduce you to our guest, Jaylen Powell. Jaylen, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jaylen Powell. I'm a creative out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Do all parts of creative, a lot of corporate work, a lot of brand work, a lot of sports stuff. Yeah, just your average girl in the industry.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of my purpose as a creator is to introduce other creators into like the fold. You know what I'm saying? Like helping them understand like there's many ways to get to the point that we're at, where we're full-time professionals in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this won't be like the first episode or the last episode of doing this with creators, but ever since I started working with you, I always just kind of admired your story because like it's different from mine,
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as traditional as I guess my story is.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you looked at my childhood all the way through college, you knew what I was going to do. And I think that that's kind of different from you. So without me trying to tell your story, without you saying anything,
Yeah.
let's just start off like, just tell us a little bit about, how you started in this industry.
Yeah. How I started in this industry, I've always been interested in photography, videography. It started out as photography only.
Yeah.
Since I was young, high school, maybe a little bit of middle school, but as we all pretty much know, if you're watching this podcast, I would assume you know that cameras are very expensive.
Yeah.
So I never got one, and also my background is basketball. So for the most part, I grew up chasing, college basketball and doing that whole thing. I wasn't too much or professional basketball wasn't too much on my mind. It was more so just college. And then while I was in college, I got my degree in marketing. But I had a 5th year of school for COVID. So I went down to South Alabama, University of South Alabama, and I got my master's in sport management. But during that time, my parents did get me a camera for undergrad for graduating. That was my graduation gift.
What was the camera?
Nikon D5600. As some people like to call it, a potato.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But yeah, so a Nikon D5600 was my first camera, and I had a kit lens or whatever, maybe 2. But when I was down in Alabama, I was just taking photos of everything I could. I would go to, the men's basketball games, football games, tennis matches, soccer, and still sports, all sports for the most part. And then I did a couple graduation shoots, made like $1,000 in a week at one point. And I was like, at that time, $1,000 in a week is a lot of money for a college student.
Paper.
That's paper.
That's paper.
And I ain't think about no taxes, no nothing. I'm just thinking like this is money just for me to play with.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much how it started. Like I made that money and I was like, okay. And mind you, I was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was terrible back then.
Yeah.
Like if I look, none of that work. I hope you can't find
like,
it.
I hope you can't find my first work. I hope it is gone.
I wiped off the internet. But so I started making some money.
Yeah.
And I came back home to North Carolina, and I started just shooting more sports. My best friend's brother played football. Started out going to his workouts, and people would be like, "Hey, what's your name? Can you take photos of my son or whoever?"
Yeah.
And it was just snowball effect from there. And that's really how my journey started. It started in the sports world, just photos. Then people would be like, "Well, can you do a video like this?" And I was like, "Well, I can try." And then I can charge you more a little bit, because it is a video. It's longer. That was my mindset. And that's how I transitioned into doing some more video. And then snowball just kept growing. Met more people, got on set for my first job on set, like a bigger set was, I was a production assistant with, what company? Advanced Auto Parts. And that's when the door kind of opened because I was like, oh, like look at all this.
Yeah.
Like this is crazy. Like
was that the click moment, right?
Yeah, that was because I didn't even know, like, if my mom and I used to like talk about this because she used to like kind of like cameras at one point, and she was like, you don't want to be like a photographer? Like, and this was like when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I was like, like what? The only thing that was in my mind as a photographer or a videographer that I seen was people who did the news.
Yep.
And people who would video like games or like broadcasts.
Yeah.
Like that's in my mind what the job was. For some reason, I never thought about like movies, film, commercials. And even when I went to college and I got my degree in marketing, it was in my mind, but I just didn't know what the actual career path was. I was like, marketing and like advertisement. That's what I like. And I didn't understand like what I liked for it for me. Like I didn't know what I wanted it to be, but now I do. But so when I did that Advanced Auto Parts job as a PA, that's when then like my eyes opened. I was like, oh, I was talking to people. I was like, well, what do you do? I was talking DIT.
Yeah.
Like nobody, if you're not in the film world, you have no idea what that is. So it's like, it's important for people to get, get those experience so they can just learn and ask questions.
Yeah, because I'm assuming at that moment you may have gotten paid for like the sports work.
Yeah.
But at that moment, it probably felt like this ain't just a hobby. This ain't just like something slight anymore.
Well, at least, for what I was doing, I was like, I don't know how much money I can make doing this. Like,
yeah.
Like if I think about now versus back then, I'm like, okay, I could. I don't know if I thought back then I could make a living with the sports stuff. You can in a way, like it just depends, connections, all that stuff. But when I got on that Advanced Auto Parts job, and then I got into some more jobs, and like I did, what is it called? I was a art assistant for Under Armour.
Yeah.
And that's when it was like, it was sports, it was advertising, like it was
everything.
Yeah, like if y'all see the commercial that's like with New Balance and Coco Gauff, Sydney McLaughlin, like I was on set with those people who did that commercial. And that commercial has been rolling for at least 2 years.
Yeah,
like I still see it.
Yeah. I've seen it recently.
And we've done, like we did a job very similar, or a set very similar to that. And that's when like, I think that's when I was like, okay, I can kind of see it, because the cinematographer was a woman too.
Yeah.
I can't think of her name right now, but I remember researching her while she right there. I'm researching her. Like,
I'm gonna Google you.
I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like I'm looking at her work. I'm like, oh, like this is what I want to do. So,
and see, that's crazy.
That was it for me.
Because when you said like the cinematographer was a woman, I'm thinking in my head, how many times have I seen a woman cinematographer in the flesh?
Yeah.
On a set of a major production.
In the flesh?
That's what I'm saying, like in the flesh.
Yeah, in the flesh, like, not often.
Like, yeah, I know.
You see
I know it's women out there, you know what I'm saying? Like mad props.
Yeah.
But that's part of the issue I have with our industry is like, I don't feel like we're giving everybody a fair chance, not to like cloud your story, but that's a part of why I think your story is unique. Because like, when I was an undergrad at Howard, there was a handful of women that I worked alongside, and if I drop their names, they some heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And, well, at least in my eyes, they heavy hitters. But the thing I remember trying to be like, one time trying to be like a gentleman on set, and I remember my friend, her name was Sierra. Like she pretty much like slapped my hand, was like, hey dude, like, nah.
I got it.
I carry my own like kit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I carry my own tripod.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a part of why I admire, what you do and what you're doing in your story. But to even just hear that on that, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
That on that commercial, like.
That's where it clicked.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like I still like I said, that commercial still circles around, and I'm like, I can't believe we shot that right here in Raleigh.
Yep.
And now it's not the exact one I was on, but copy and paste. Like it's the
Yep.
same job.
Same
It's just
exact.
different people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So let's shift gears. Now, in this time period, you know, this is probably the first time at that commercial, you're on that commercial set, or maybe the second time. At this particular time, are you starting to look at other people's work? Was it anybody you were looking at that you're kind of like looking up to?
The first person that comes to mind, his name is Danny Gevirtz. He's a YouTuber, cinematographer. I think he's based out of Philadelphia. A lot of people know him.
He's solid.
I'm inspired by his work. A lot of focus in the health and wellness space, sports. I think he has a sports background. He comes from like cross country and track.
Yeah.
But you know, I think something that I'm interested in far as film and just content overall, because that's a lot of times what we call it content, is like the storytelling. Because you can shoot content. Anybody can shoot content for real. Like, you got these phones now that got 4K, all this great camera stuff. But when it comes to like storytelling, because like that's why we sit down for 2 hours and watch a movie, because of the storytelling, not because of what camera they shot it on.
Nope.
Not because it's a Ari that costs.
Yeah, it's storytelling.
The whole thing is, you know, a $300,000 package. Like, it's because of the story that they're telling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was like, oh, okay, I don't just want to shoot content either. You know, I don't want to just pull up. And that's still why I don't call myself a cinematographer, because to me, that's the difference. I think like cinematographers are very intentional about, you know, the things they're shooting, and like they're thinking of the lighting, they're thinking of, you know, the entire story, versus somebody who's just a videographer, which I'm growing out of it. I just think I need to, you know, do more.
Yeah.
Where right now I kind of just pull up. I'm not gonna say I just pull up, but like there's just more to do. Like
you want to be more intentional.
Yeah, I just want to be more intentional about the work I put in.
Because I feel what you're saying. Like, if you had to compare yourself to a cinematographer, you would just be like pulling up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's maybe it's a little bit of pre-production work you're doing, but it's probably not as extensive.
Yeah.
And then depending on the kit that you're bringing as well. So, you know, within your story, you talk about storytelling and how you get into this point. I agree with you. Storytelling is as old as a campfire. I remember we did that one film with they're not called the Unity folks. And I remember Earl was telling us that, you know, that's what makes the outdoor special when they're around that campfire. The all the barriers are removed. And that's with storytelling too. If you think about the content that we look at, when you look at like films and TVs and television shows and movies, you're not at that time, you're not thinking about barriers. You're not thinking about what you don't have. You're not thinking about differences. You're in the story.
Right.
And so as you start to grow towards that storyteller, let's talk a little bit about gear, because you talked about the Nikon. You know, I ain't seen a Nikon in your hand ever since I've known you. Nothing against Nikon folks, but I mean,
I like Nikon now.
You know, Nikon now
Nikon
is
red.
Nikon red now. So you know, I like them.
Low key.
You know, so but
yeah,
you know, as you were making that progression, I know you started in sports. You're probably like gearing up stuff for sports.
Yeah,
but now you're probably changing your gear more towards where you want to be.
Yeah, 100%.
Talk a little bit about that.
So yeah, I started off, like I said, Nikon D5600. That was just that's what the camera store recommended. Great camera too. It was a great starter camera. And while I was at South Alabama, guy I still talk to all the time, and I shout out to Dylan. That's my guy, Dylan Bodley, out at Mobile, Alabama. Great photographer, videographer, does it all out there. And he was really a mentor to me, you know, starting out. But he shot on all Canon stuff. So that's what I saw.
Yeah.
I saw that, and I saw some Sony stuff. Sony just didn't hit for me, I ain't gonna lie. It kind of looked I'm not gonna say. it had a look to
Don't
me
make the Sony
that I
boys
wasn't.
mad.
Yeah, ain't what it is.
Don't
What
piss
it
off the
is.
Sony folks.
But yeah, Canon, especially then, because I was more focused on photo.
Yeah.
It was like it looked more real to me versus Sony just looked a little cartoonish. That's the word I want to give it.
That color science on
Yeah,
them
something about
Canons.
it. And I didn't know that. I didn't even know what color science was back then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so then I got the Canon R6, which I still have. I actually
this
bought
day.
it from I bought it from Dylan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got that Canon R6, and it carried me for about 2 years till recently. Last year I bought the C80, which I love. I hope to, sorry. Whew, gotta take a breath.
You good?
But I have the C80 now, and I got that camera because why did I get that camera? I got that camera because I felt like the R6 wasn't doing the job I needed it to do anymore. And I think that's when you should get a new camera, not because it's new specs or it's the latest version. Because like I said, this is all about storytelling at the end of the day. But I felt like the R6 was hindering me from telling the story I wanted to tell for a lot of projects I was doing.
Yeah.
And that triple bass also, that does it for me. I'm always in a low light situation. So I wanted something that could kind of combat that without having to do a whole bunch of stuff in post, because I'm not the best editor. Like I'm just trying to, I'm trying to get from point A, point B, point C in the fastest way possible.
Oh, you're actually a great editor, but I'll let you have that too.
I appreciate it.
I'll let you have that too.
Yeah, so I got the C80. And even now, I'm looking at other cameras and I'm trying to figure out what I want to get next. Because like I mentioned last time, the R6 doesn't have, I don't even know what you call it, but long form recording, if that's the name, So I'm looking at other options where, I could have a 2-camera setup, something that's easier to put on a gimbal, and something that I can set up and kind of leave without having to think about, oh, we got 15 minutes left before this one stops recording. So yeah,
it's all about like the tool to get the job done,
right?
And I know it's a lot of folks that's out here that's preaching that, and there's a lot of folks that's out here just preaching get gear.
Yeah,
I mean, you go on YouTube. I swear, YouTube is formulated for if you want to buy something, go to YouTube. It's gonna convince you to buy it. YouTube not gonna talk you out of a lot of things.
Yeah.
If anything's gonna talk you out of one thing, but to go buy another thing. But I do think our gear talk does have to become more like purposeful.
Yeah.
Like how you saying, like, hey, what do I need this piece of equipment for?
Right.
And what is it gonna help me achieve? And if I already have that, how am I growing out of that? So, like with your path into this video world, I'm sure as you started to do this more, the business aspect started to become a little bit more apparent, more clear. So how did you deal with just going from like videographer to like business owner? Because that's what you are.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think credit to you. First of all, I just want to, give you props and give you your flowers, but you've helped me a lot on the business side of things. I remember our first shoot together, and you were always willing to like answer my questions about whether it was cameras, whether it was about the business side, whatever questions I had. But I think for me as becoming like a business owner and legit thinking about taxes, all the things, business expenses, business purchases. I think that I'm not gonna lie, I think that really got instilled to me by my mom because she's very savvy in that way. She's from New York, so she's a hustler, that's just in her. But she's always taught me like not necessarily about business, but even just about finance, like as much as she could. And I always, at the end of the day, I really just get on YouTube a lot. And I ask YouTube questions. I ask the people I'm around and I ask YouTube, Google, and I take everything with a grain of salt, because what works for one person doesn't always work for everyone else.
Yeah.
But the things that like I'm focusing on right now in my business is, how to get the most profit, because
Yes.
I'll just talk about this year. I made pretty decent money.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, it's like, all right, how do we actually make more money? How do I keep more money in my pocket?
Yeah.
Because like I've said before, and I'll probably say this 100 times, however many times on this podcast, camera gear is so expensive, y'all.
Yes.
And that's for clients too. I hope y'all heard me when I said that. Like,
y'all
yeah,
about to hear this. Clients, listen.
That was for you. Like, stuff is expensive. But that's part of just being like a cinematographer in the whole aspect of things, because I'm not the cinematographer that doesn't shoot with my own gear. Like, I shoot with my gear a lot. So I have to think about that when I come on the set. If I'm coming on set and I'm bringing my equipment, I have to think about the wear and tear that I'm putting on my gear, because at some point I'm going to have to replace it.
You are.
Like, something's gonna break.
And this is for the crew members out there. Yo, treat the gear nicely, man.
Yeah.
Like, I know sometimes we shoot on our own stuff and you might treat your stuff a little rough, a little raggedy. But if you're using somebody else's kit, you on set with their stuff that they paid their hard-earned money for, be gentle with it.
Yeah.
Be aware. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like, it's been too many times I've been on locations where I might find it be the smallest things. I got a shotgun mic in my lens case. Yo, you know what I'm saying?
Where
like,
is it? Like, it needs to go back here.
Like,
it's not $15. It's $350, y'all, like, for a microphone. Like,
and it's sitting in my lens case. And it's like, but why? But
man, I got something to say about that. Like, okay, y'all, I was on set one time. This was for a passion project.
Yeah.
And I've told you about this before. We were shooting, I didn't even know at the time. These lenses are these are Cook lenses. Oh, yeah. I don't even know what they call. I just know they call Cooks. This is way above me.
Yeah.
Y'all, these lenses are like, how much are they? They're
racks.
They're
I don't even know.
The set is like, we're just gonna say upwards of $85,000.
It's paper.
The set.
Yes.
And we lost a lens cap.
Ooh.
And my DP said, guys, we gotta try to find this lens cap. Lens cap is about $500. And that's when I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean the lens cap is $500?
Man, what?
And I'm like, I went on a deep dive. I'm back on Google. Looking the lens cap. The lens caps are $500 because the lenses by themselves are $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And I'm not saying I shoot with that, but all this stuff has value to a person. And that goes for, your people you're shooting with, the people you're shooting for.
Yep.
Like, everybody who's around this equipment, like, y'all, please, like, treat it with the utmost respect. Like, it is so expensive, and it takes time to get these things. Like, some people don't have insurance. Like, I'm not one of those people, but some people don't have insurance. So, like, their stuff goes away, gets stolen, it breaks. It's like, you might destroy their whole business because of that.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's just one thing I got about gear. We could talk about gear all day long.
I know, right? But so speaking on like some of those grievances while being in the industry.
Yeah.
What's I don't want to say the biggest lesson. I hate when questions are shaped like that. But what's a lesson that you've learned from the days of starting doing sports, videography, photography to what you're doing now?
And this is something another mentor has taught me. This is back when I was in college. Kelsey Harris. Back when I was in marketing, sport management stuff. But before I even got into the camera world, she always used to tell me, you won't know if you don't like it until you do it, So when it comes to sports, music, entertainment, corporate, doctor, like whatever it is, I wouldn't say, I would definitely tell people don't shut it out until you try it. Because you never know. Like, you may love the corporate work. You may love going to the doctor's office and just shooting an interview. You may love entertainment. You may love sports. And you won't know until you go out there and do it. And I'm not just saying one time. Sometimes you got to try it several times and figure out, like, okay, maybe you love doing this, but maybe this is just not gonna pay your bills. So that's when you got to supplement with other parts of the industry. So I think that's one of my biggest lessons. Something I still take with me now is like, I don't want to niche down too much to where I'm just saying no to opportunities that I've never even done before. Like, I won't know until I try. So that's
now let's talk about niching down briefly. For, like, let's imagine that somebody is watching this, that they haven't been in our industry.
Yeah.
They have no idea what we're talking about when we're talking about niching down. Touch on that just a little bit.
Well, for me, niching down just comes to the type of work that you do. Whether that's you do sports, you do corporate, you do documentary, you do narrative, or you do it all. Or you do ports, you do some things. Man, I am very indifferent about niching down because I see how it works for some people, but it doesn't, like I said, everybody doesn't have the same experiences and we're not all living the same life. So there's some people who will say, oh, you need to niche down, you need to specialize in this part, like, because your clients are looking for specialists, and they are, but there's also value to being versatile.
It is.
Which I've thrived my entire life being versatile in basketball. I play every position on the court.
Baller.
LeBron James, not playing.
I just want to y'all know, Jaylen was balling, yo.
But
still balling. Let me not say was.
A little bit. But yeah, there's so much value in being versatile, because you see things differently.
You do.
There's another photographer. She's from Elon. She used to work for the Carolina Panthers. Chanel. I can't think of her last name, but I think she works for Wasserman now.
Yeah.
But when I was really heavily into sports, I, watched her work a lot, watched interviews she did. One thing she said that stuck with me is, she worked for Carolina Panthers, was a great photographer, and didn't really like sports, which is like crazy because most people get into sports photography and videography because they love this player, they love this team, or they just love sports overall. But something she said about her not loving sports is like she loved the story of it. Like, she loved, what she captured, like, or what I love about the work that she captured is it wasn't, it looked different. And that's because of her not liking sports for real.
It wasn't the typical sports photo.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, hey, this is what you would expect.
Like, she was real deal, like, doing art out of sports photos. And like, there's one image that pops up in the mind is like national anthem is playing or whatever. And this might be like while Black Lives Matter and all this stuff is happening, but just a real beautiful shot, black and white. And it's kind of where this mic is to me. Like, that's kind of where it looked like the camera angle was taken from, of a player just like shedding a tear. And it was like, I have that image in my head. Like, it's locked in. That's how good it was. Yeah. And she probably took that at least four years ago. So it's some images that just stick with you. And that's because of the story that they told in that image. So, yeah.
And I'm kind of with you. I always tell people, especially when they're first getting into this industry, is like, I would say avoid niching down out the gate. I would say kind of much like you, like, look at other people that are doing this work. See what you like about the work that they're doing. Yeah. Whatever industry that's in. And then I also even tell folks that are like at our level, be careful with niching down. there is a advantage to being hyper focused. But what I like to tell people is you need to look hyper focused.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at our website is mainly like corporate and documentary. But we film with musician groups.
Yeah.
We film other things with broadcasts and things like that.
Yeah.
But to the client looking in, it looks like this is all we do.
Right.
But just because, you have a website that shows that doesn't mean that that's all that you can do.
Exactly.
I like, and it's not the conventional, at our level, it's not the conventional thought process.
Mm-hmm.
Most people say, hey man, if you're a sports photographer, you need to just eat, live, breathe sports photography.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But a lot of sports photography gear can be great for like nature photography.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so why can't you do both? And why can't you be great at both? I'm never gonna tell somebody only do one thing
Mm-hmm.
and it totally miss out on something else.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that 100% because like you said, you could have a sports photographer, and even looking at Prism's website, like it shows that you do this type of work. But at the end of the day, if you got a client who says, can you do this for $80,000? They're going to say no.
Right? You're going to be like, no.
I don't do ballet.
Really?
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Like, let's say it's a ballet. Oh, we got to get ballet competition. Can you do this for this much? Okay. Yeah. Actually, we can. For that budget, we can do that.
And the funny thing is, like you saying on the site, so one thing that we don't promote on the site is photography.
Mm-hmm. You still get hired for it.
And we get hired for photography.
Yeah. I haven't posted a photo and I don't know how long.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but if somebody called me and they need this and the budget's right, okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think that's a big thing. I think we wrap with something like, I'm always thinking about like the young person that's possibly watching this. Mm-hmm. Like I started this industry maybe when I don't like to say I started industry. I started an interest in videography and photography when I was about 11, 12 years old. So between that age gap and maybe however 20s, 30s, whatever, what's some advice that you can give to someone that's either wanting to get into this or they're starting out? And it can even be like just a word of encouragement.
Yeah. Let me think. I don't want to give the typical answer.
Yeah.
Somebody starting out. Don't be afraid to ask questions. No, I feel like that could be a typical answer. But,
I mean, it could be, but it's good.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be intimidated.
Yeah.
Because this industry can be intimidating. I'll give you that. Because first of all,
it's tough.
From my point of view, there's not a lot of women on set. A lot of times, there's not a lot of Black people on set. Yeah. So just from that standpoint, and then just the levels of it, like there are so many levels to this industry. Like you got people starting out, you got intermediate, you got expert, you got extraordinary. You know. Yeah. But there's value at all of them at every level. Like not every customer can afford extraordinary.
Nope.
So there's a reason that, you still have your Nikon D5600, like, it's still valuable to somebody. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're going to get that and be like, yo, let's get it. Like,
exactly.
It's in my budget. It's good.
It's good
let's
to
go.
Me, Yeah. So yeah, don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And I would say, what else?
I mean, you kind of touched on being like a Black woman in the industry. Mm-hmm. Like, I know what it is to be a Black man in the industry, but I have no clue, no experience of what that is.
Yeah.
And maybe it takes some sort of grit, determination, maybe a lot of noise canceling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think all of that. And confidence. Okay. But be very weary of like confidence and arrogance because I think a lot of people are confident without work because like I mean me personally, I cannot stand that. Like if you are, because to me that's arrogance. Like if you don't have a portfolio or if you don't have experience or you haven't done anything to get that experience, how can you be confident?
Yeah.
And, you know, talk like you this and that. So for young photographers, young Black female photographers, if you're, eager to be in this industry and learn, and make a business out of it, get your reps in. Get your reps in by yourself. Get your reps in with whoever will give you opportunity. And seek out those who look like you, because a lot of times those will be the people who help you first. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Send people a DM on Instagram. Like, do
That
not be
part.
scared of that. Like, you don't even understand. Like, that is a good thing. If I'm like me personally, if somebody sends me a DM on Instagram saying they admire my work and they want to ask me questions, you understand how good that makes me feel?
Yeah.
Like, I know you asking me a question, but that boosts my head so much.
Yeah.
And if you have the like ability to inspire somebody, I saw this on TikTok yesterday. Like, if you have the ability to inspire somebody, like, never stop.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot to inspire somebody. But for any young photographer, videographer, just young person in general trying to pursue something, just keep at it, get your reps in, and be confident in the work that you put in. Trust the work that you put in.
Yeah.
Because work will always show.
Yeah. I like that. Because it's more like show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Especially if once you get to that point, your portfolio's built up, have that confidence, but show it.
Yeah.
I've always liked creators, working alongside creators that, like, we all think we that, but everybody keeps it, kind of mellow, kind of chill. We all confident, but at the end of the day, their work shows it. And I'm not just talking about work like, oh, what I see on a monitor. I'm saying like work ethic, timeliness, willingness to get in the dirt and be in the struggle. We've been on stuff together where it's like we look at each other, it's like, man,
are we almost done?
Are we almost done? It's that.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that perspective.
Ooh, I got something else to say.
Go ahead.
And this is not just for ladies, this is for everybody, or mostly for people starting out. Don't look down upon certain jobs.
Yeah.
Because I don't know many people who haven't started from like PA. Like, that's just my experience. But like every job on set is important. And that's why they have them.
Yep.
Even though like some people get paid more or whatever, like there's a reason why you're on set. Like you're making the day easier. Whether it's just handing out snacks to people or getting water, doing coffee, whatever, like you're very important. So don't look down upon anybody. And that's even for when you get better and you take on a higher role. Like if you're a DP, director, whatever, like that used to be you, or that could have been you. So looking down upon people just because of like the position that they're at or whatever, not cool.
Yeah.
So,
and can I be real for a moment?
For sure. Always.
I'm the type of cat. I've been a producer. I've been whatever. I don't like to brag about stuff I do. And I was still to this day going to be a PA on somebody's set. So you really don't know. You don't know who that person is.
Right.
You may just assume, oh, this is just a PA. You never know. Because if it's my homie's production, I'll be like, man, I'm going to take the dirtiest job that you can't find somebody to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you just never know. So you always, and I love that because I grown up that way.
Yeah.
I've always taught, the janitor at the school, you treat the janitor with the same respect you treat the principal. Because at the end of the day, if you really need to get in that school, Principal ain't gonna come
He
let you
trying to be
in.
the one to let you in.
You know what I'm saying?
He the one with the keys.
Principal at home.
Yeah,
But the janitor is it.
exactly.
But that's the same way in our industry. I love that you mentioned that because, like, you don't know who's in that role.
Yeah.
And even if that person isn't somebody that could be sitting in the director's seat, still a
They
person.
could be.
But they could
Later
be.
on.
Later on. You don't know.
You never know.
And, you know, you here acting, you know, like
this and that. Bougie, bad and bougie, but
right.
that could be the next whoever. That could be the next whoever.
That'd be next, you know, artistic director for Nike or something.
Exactly. So.
And they remember, I remember when I was a PA and you was mad cool.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I like that. Hey, I just want to take a moment just to thank y'all for tuning in to the Production Prism. If you liking everything that we've been talking about, if you want to see more, please like, comment, subscribe. And